And we're recording. So tonight's
All
guest
right.
is Spencer Keepers of Keepers Concealment. Um, Spencer, thanks a bunch for coming on tonight.
Oh yeah, man, I'm glad to have me. I'm just ecstatic to be on.
Thanks a bunch, man. I so I'm kind of I have to admit I'm a kind of a fan. I first learned about you from uh looking on YouTube and seeing videos about big guys like me and you that are successfully carrying appendix. And I came across your video that you did with Chris Baker of Lucky Gunner, and also John Correa of Active Self Protection posted about an hour's worth of footage on his channel, Active Self Protection Extra, and it showed basically like the first hour of your AIWB presentation at TACCon. And that's how I learned about what
Okay.
TACCon is. So,
Okay.
so I've been looking forward to this. And so uh the first question that I have is like, how did you come up with how did you get started in shooting, and how did you get started in appendix carry?
Ooh, shooting is easy. Okay. So my father took me on my first deer hunt when I was 18 months old. Okay. That
18 months.
18 months. I don't really remember it, although there are little bits and pieces that I remember, and I cherish those to this day. My father has passed away. He passed kind of in the fall of 2015, and to say that I miss him would be a grave understatement. So anyhow, I think Dad needed to get me out of the house because of my mother. I think she was having a pretty hard time with me at the time, and so anyhow, that said about me hunting, and I have predominantly been a big game hunter. Although I love to pheasant hunt, my dad lived in Boise City, Oklahoma, and at the time, back in the day, they were a lot of pheasants out there, and so we would spend part of the fall out there chasing pheasants, and I just loved it. It was just the coolest thing ever. And then when the pheasants kind of started to, dry up and migrate off, the ducks showed up. And so we would spend the rest of the fall duck hunting. Um, and then, I grew up and went on to high school. And somewhere through high school, I discovered archery hunting. And I just decided that I had to try and figure out how this whole archery thing with deer worked. Um, and I started just reading everything there was to read and getting out in the field and trying to figure it out on my own. You know, I didn't really have a mentor at that point in time to really help me, and it took me several years, but I was finally able to kill a buck with a bow, and then I was finally able to kill a doe with a bow, and then I got on the Oklahoma City Sportsman's lease, which was a number of leases throughout the state of Oklahoma. But one of the particular leases had um, they had up to 80 additional doe tags to be harvested because they were managing the ranch for trophy deer, for trophy bucks.
Huh.
And I spent my every weekend that I was home, I was traveling at the time, from a real job. So I was traveling, upwards in the neighborhood of 200 plus days a year. But every weekend that I was home, that I could finagle it, that I was home deer hunting and hog hunting, and trying to put meat in the freezer, and just loved it. I mean, I was just just enamored with it. And then somewhere right around 2007, so I'd always carried a gun, right? And I had worked in a gun shop, and I was the proverbial dude that knew everything about guns. I mean, if there was a question to be answered about guns, I knew it. And then I started training. I took my first formal training classes with Will Andrews in Oklahoma shooting skills, and I quickly found out that I didn't know shit. And and it was just such an eye opener for me to think, here it is, man. I know everything, because I work in a gun shop, and how else could I not know it, right? And for all the listeners out there that are thinking, hey, I'm in that dude's shoe. Trust me, you don't know what you don't know until you figure out what you don't know. And and that was another just wonderful learning curve in my life. I wouldn't change a thing today. If somebody said, here's quadrillion, mazillion, bazillion dollars. You can go back and change anything you want to, other than quite a few sports cars and some really killer Jeeps. Uh, you know, I would still be looking at how do I come to find out about uh, deer management and how to harvest does ethically, um, and I really do mean ethically. I had a chance here within the last 4 or 5 years. I had a friend of mine that I met in the shooting community, and he had just a fabulous place to deer hunt. He had, a whole bunch of timber, and then about a 40-acre field of alfalfa. And I can remember one uh, uh, Thanksgiving night, setting out there, and there were 48 deer on the field. And this is during the bonus doe days for Oklahoma. So you could shoot basically any doe you wanted to. But
Oh man.
yeah. And so, and
Oh man.
believe it or not, I was looking for a very specific, long faced, mature doe without a fawn, that would meet my criteria. And none of the 48 did.
Oh
And
man.
so I had reached a level of maturity that I was like, I'm not gonna shoot a deer unless it matches my protocol, if it, uh, and I did not. I just didn't shoot a deer that day because I couldn't find one that didn't have a fawn, that didn't have, not a fawn, but several fawns, or it was the grandmother to a deer that had several fawns, and they needed that experience to help them make it through the winter. And I was willing to not harvest a deer to give those deer that opportunity to to thrive, and to live. And so kind of through all that, then I started somewhere in the neighborhood of 2006 or seven. I started training again with Will Andrews, and I started learning what it really was about carrying a gun professionally, and what it meant, to do that. And I, I just started realizing that, hey, just because I've got a gun on doesn't mean, I can do anything I want to do. It's a
Yeah.
very strict set of rules of engagement, that would ever cause me to draw my gun and use it in a lethal force encounter.
Yeah. I think Masada Yub uses the same term, rules of engagement.
Um, and uh, and then somewhere along there, I started training with Craig Douglas. I started training with Michael Brown out of Tulsa in his CQT program, where I started learning not only the gun portion of this lifestyle, but the fighting portion of this lifestyle, where I started learning that there is more to just carrying a gun. Just carrying a gun isn't enough, in my opinion, because I may, get in a situation someday where I have to fight my way out of that. And, in my opinion, uh, there's no better class, there's no better technique than, CQT with Mike Brown and Brandon Bennett, or maybe ECQC with Craig Douglas, because they really teach you de-escalation, uh, how to de-escalate a scenario where you don't have to pull a gun and shoot somebody. And I just cannot say enough about that. And somewhere through there, I started teaching a class called Situational Control, and it was all about how to diffuse a situation before it got beyond the point of, authorities uh, uh, and the ability to diffuse that to the point that I don't have to pull a gun and use it. And, ultimately, that's what it's all about, in my opinion. Now, and we can't just look the outlier where, the balloon goes up and I need to be able to draw my gun now and rather quickly. I'm a huge fan of the sub-second draw, or sub-second ish, draw. You know, I want to draw a stroke that is blindingly fast, that somebody really can't react to. And I think once you have that, it's just such a game changer in what you can do. It just doesn't really matter, you know. And when I say doesn't really matter, it doesn't really matter that the bad guys can't really respond to that to a point that they can do anything about it once you have been given authorization by their actions to draw a gun, and you started that process, right? Um, and that is just that's just a fabulous feeling to have. It's knowing that you can, throw a right cross or something like that and get a knockout against somebody, and there's really nothing they can do about that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, you know, and then of course, the whole manage unknown contacts, as Craig likes to call it. Situational control is all I like to call it, where you can talk your way out of stuff like that and not have to get involved in um, that type of victimality. Uh, uh, because if you can see it coming and you can talk your way out of it, and you don't have to get into a fight, you don't have to get into a gunfight, you don't have to get into any physical alteration, and you can diffuse that before it happens, man, that's just a win-win as far as it gets. I mean, it just doesn't get any better than that. So,
I 100% agree. I'd much rather talk my way out than to shoot my way out.
oh yeah, 100% saves ammo. And I'm a huge fan. If you don't have CCW Safe, please go to my website and sign up. It'll be the only you know big big call out on that I'll do. But it's just worth it. It's literally the fact that if something like that were to occur and the cops were to get involved, uh, there's no telling how much intrusion that they can come about, and just you know just completely screw your life up, from where's your gun, what ammo were you using, where were you standing, how many shots did you shoot. Oh, that doesn't match what we've investigated. We're gonna send you to jail. And
Yeah.
then having somebody that can step in and say, hey, this guy's not going to jail. We're getting him out of jail. Doesn't matter how many rounds he shot, because it's been a real proven thing that if a major police force gets in a shooting, they get up to I think it's up to 4 sleep cycles before they even have to make a statement on what happened, because it takes the human mind a while to start really piecing together what happened, And I actually had this happen, and believe it or not, it was with a big pig, and she decided to charge me. And I had a muzzle loader, and I happened to have my carry gun on me. I shot my muzzle loader, which now turns into a big club. Uh, Drew my handgun and just started laying waste. I put 10 rounds into this hog before it finally turned and went away. And it took me several days to recall what really happened. And that was just a hog. Now, granted, that hog had 3-inch tusk and could have easily tore me up. I mean, if not killed me. Um, so you need that type of protection, uh, for that. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
so so at this point in time, I'd kind of like to see if you've got any questions for me.
Yeah.
Uh,
So, yeah, that's amazing. Um, the hunting, the training, the learning, all of that is absolutely phenomenal. Um, so how did you come across to AIWB? I know that there's a couple of YouTube videos where you talked about, learning about it from Todd Lewis Green. Can
yes.
you tell us a little bit about how that thought process went and how your
Yeah.
journey was?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. I'd be glad to. Sometimes I kind of skip that, and I'm glad you brought that up. So the Range Master Tactical Conference, roughly about 2007, I want to say. It was held here at Oklahoma at um, the actual USSA headquarters in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And Todd was a presenter there that year. And it just so happens that I was hosting Todd the next weekend for a class here in Oklahoma City. Okay. And so I got to hang around Todd quite a bit. And believe it or not, Todd and I went out to dinner one night. And I realized that under every circumstances, I'm sorry, Todd could get to his gun faster, far faster than I could get to mine. Then we went, farther on, and during the competition, Todd could get to his gun faster than I could get to my gun. And I'm carrying strong side inside the waistband at this point in time for the viewer's sake. And Todd's carrying a full size H&K 19 or not a 1911 but a 45, right? And I mean, it's a big gun. He's carrying it in a leather holster. I think it's a 5-shot leather holster. And I hate it. I can't remember. Mitch Rosen. Is that right? No, that's not right. Mitch Rosen. That's a different company. I can't
Like
remember.
Milt Sparks, maybe?
Huh? No, it's not Milt Sparks. Um, uh, if I think of it, I will let you know. Uh, but anyhow, you know it is a leather company that made specific appendix carry uh, holsters, um, and they did a great job, phenomenal job. Holsters called the 5 shot special, and man, kind of off we went. Um, Todd Todd really liked the holster. Interestingly enough, I tried it, and this is the thing about body type and appendix holsters. Um, it fit Todd perfectly. Like you couldn't really see it. It blended really well. It didn't really print. It just did a great job. For me, it just like stuck out like a sore thumb, and I was just like, man, this just not for me. And uh, uh, Todd carried it, did a great job, and uh, he got through the match with it. I think he actually won the match with that holster, believe it or not. And I I just couldn't believe it. I to that day, I just couldn't believe that a holster that for me printed, was slow to get to, was slow to draw, but yet somehow or another for Todd it worked fabulous.
Mm.
And that's kind of how I developed mine out of Kydex. Mine was adjustable, and I was able to adjust it to such a degree that, man, you just couldn't tell it was there, and it was fast to draw, etc. And not saying anything bad against, the 5 shot leather. 5 shot leather. There we go. That's the name of the company. 5 shot leather. Uh, you know, Not saying anything bad against it because, man, it was obviously a great holster. Uh, and they're kind of came about on that, and did a great job. Uh, so uh, it I always kind of wish, because I've always wanted a good, like a leather inside the waistband holster. I've just never been able to come up with one. We've talked about it before, trying to change it a little bit, and we've just never been able to get the right the right thing going on that matter. So,
Yeah.
uh, so, so that's kind of how that came about. And then, Todd, I made a holster for Todd, and Todd was just like, hey, I don't want to adjust this. I don't want to do this or that, or, I don't want to adjust it. I don't want to change the ride height or the cant, or, I don't want to change the quote, the position of the gun on my belt, etc., which is something I never really understood because, like, Todd would take the gun and he would change it endlessly. Like, if it needed this or that, or he needed, a 2.25 pound trigger pull instead of a 2.5 pound trigger pull, he would be the one making that happen, where I was like, hey, I need a good trigger pull, but it doesn't have to be like, 3.25 pounds is fine. And, I would much rather get the gun dialed in on the holster size and ramp, if you will, where Todd was much like, I want the gun tuned in, but not necessarily the holster itself. And that's just that was just a little bit different um, um, thought process between Todd and I on that, and Todd and I turned out to be pretty good friends. I remember, unfortunately, Todd passed, or not passed, but um, Todd fell asleep while he was walking the SHOT Show, and ended up having to go to the ambulance and all that. And he really still, again, didn't want to change uh, the the attribute of the holster, where that was something that I was, quite willing to change. Um,
Yeah.
so, but that kind of leads us up there. So, do you have any other questions from that point coming forward, or?
Yeah. So you figured out the holster. At what point did you decide, you know what, I want to start making these for other people? Like,
Oh, goodness, man. What a question. So here's the only reason I started building holsters is because at the time there were two holsters, two manufacturers that built holsters for um, um,
AIWB?
AIWB specifically, right? And it was a 2 year wait to get one of those.
Wow.
2 year wait. And so I was just like, you know what? I'm a mechanic ish by trade. So when I say mechanic, I work on FAA long range radar systems. And I know this is gonna come off arrogant, and please understand, I do not intend it to, but I
Of
was
course.
I was really good at it, and so I ordered a Kydex press. I ordered some foam. I ordered a Dremel. I ordered some glue. I ordered, like I just kind of ordered this, that, and there, and I got that, and I started making my own Kydex holster, and and that was kind of it. Like it was just like, okay, I'm just going to make my own and see, how that goes. And so I made one, and the same time that I made one, I actually was on a very, very, uh, low signal uh, uh, um, uh, form, and there was a friend of mine that had a Glock 34 holster for sale. And I was like, I'll take it. I mean, like I got a hold of him and I'm like, look, dude, like I don't care what it costs. Well, obviously within reason, but like I don't really care what it costs. Like if it's another $100, send it to me overnight. I'll pay for it, right? And so interesting. Um, I got my holster, the one I had been building. I had got it done, and I built a belt loop for it. And so I got it all put together, and I drove to the post office, and I went in and picked up, this holster that had been overnighted to me, and I got it out, and I got to looking at it, and I'm like, huh, like in some ways it was a little more refined, but in some ways I thought mine was a little better. Like I thought it was more. I thought it did a better job of execution. There was just some stuff on it that I thought was better. And of course, now, mind you, I made it, so there's there's a little bit of pride there saying, hey, that's I did a better job than this, and I did a better job than that, right? And so anyhow, so I uh, I bolted the um, well, I'm sorry. First of all, let me back up just a little bit. I drove to Home Depot, or no, Lowe's. It was a Lowe's. That's what it was. So I drove to a Lowe's to buy the screws that I needed to bolt the belt loop to the holster. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, in doing so, I am standing in front of, the rack of shelves that have, those bolts in it. And as I'm doing that, I had a person, young, athletic male, come up and stand on my right side, just like right behind, not like straight right behind me, but just to my right, just a little bit. And then within about another 5 seconds, I had a same type of individual come stand to my left. And then within just a few seconds, I had an individual come stand exactly behind me.
Hmm.
And I am like, okay, I don't know what this is, but I'm out of here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I grabbed what I thought was the you know the like 4 or 5 screws and nuts that I thought I needed the most. I grabbed those and shut the drawers, and when I did, I dropped one of them, and so I just bent straight down and picked it up. Now I had my gun on in this uh, already manufactured appendix rig, right?
Yeah.
And man, I just bent over, grabbed it, and just turned left pretty hard and just kind of bullied my way out of there, right?
Yeah.
And it was at that moment that I realized I am going to carry appendix from now on. Like it just it just gave me that much more stability, stability, ability. I didn't print. I didn't do. There wasn't anything. I didn't do. There wasn't like anything to surface the gun to me.
Yeah.
And I had to grab a couple of more things as I left. I did that. And I got outside, drove to the house. I got to the house. I finished it up. I put some flat side Velcro on it, kind of glued that on there. And then I was just like, holy crap, man, I got away from, and let's just say that those 3 guys, let's just say that they were like federal, you know, I, I,
Yeah.
I got away from all 3 of them. Like I did. I mean, there was just like, there was nothing that they could have said, oh, hey, sir, I see that you're printing, which, in itself, printing isn't illegal in Oklahoma, but, it's just like they couldn't do anything to say, we need to detain you and we need to talk to you, right?
Yeah.
And then from then it just blossomed with, you know, running into people and doing that sort of thing. Um, uh, and then I made a shit ton and I probably shouldn't say that in the podcast, and I
No, it's
apologize.
totally
Uh,
fine.
um, uh, for you name it, law enforcement federal law enforcement agency, air marshals, U.S. marshals. I have made holsters for believe it or not, for the presidential team, right?
Secret Service?
Secret Service made. You name the special forces, I've made holsters for them, right? So one of my favorite was, I made a bunch of holsters for the Army. I made a whole bunch of holsters for SEAL Team 6. Quote, what is now SEAL Team 6, blah blah blah. So Um, I just made a lot of cool stuff for a lot of cool people that really watches over, who we are and what we do. And that makes me really, really, really happy.
Yeah,
Uh,
just a word about
so,
these holsters. Uh, right now, I still have two holsters for for Glock 17s. Um, I have bought several other holsters for Glocks and other platforms. And also, one thing I noticed is um, if the viewers are familiar with Gabe White, I had him on here a couple of months ago, and Gabe White has something called a turbo pin. If viewers and listeners don't know what that is, they really should look it up. No holster has more turbo pin winners than the Spencer Keepers holster. I have a turbo pin. Let's see, there's a bunch of other guys that have turbo pins with Spencer Keepers holsters, and Spencer here has 3 turbo pins with
yeah,
his holster.
yeah,
So it is a winning piece of kit. It is amazing.
yeah.
So, but yeah, so we're coming up on it. We're running out of time, and I want to be respectful of your time as well, Spencer. I am so incredibly grateful for you taking the time to spend with us. Were there any other Are there any other passion projects or anything coming from Spencer Keepers in the future?
Man, we got some great stuff coming. I really can't talk about it, but it's going to be really, really good stuff. And that's about all. Unfortunately, that's about all I can say about that. Right now. Um, but it's going to be good things. Uh, all just like all the way around. And I'm super happy to be involved in that. Uh, for that. So, um,
Right on. Um,
you
Looking
know,
forward to what you see about what you do about holsters. Looking forward to what you do about training. You blew my mind with one holster. You made a holster for, I think it was 1911s. It may have even been 2011s, where if you forget to engage the safety and you slide the gun into the holster, it'll click the safety for you.
yeah.
Like,
So,
that is incredible.
some of our 1911 holsters and our 2011 holsters. Here a while back, I was like, I kind of went to the guys and I'm like, look, whether you want to or not, you're going to build me a 2011 holster because, I'm going to get down on that gun. And because I think it's just a, excuse me, I think it's just an amazing holster and it's an amazing gun. And I think we'll see some more of that as we move forward on that. So um, that
Awesome.
that man, that 2011 with a dot on it is just gee whiz. It's just so easy to shoot. So I can't wait to start shooting that some more. So
Oh man, that's gonna be awesome. I can't wait.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
um, so Spencer, thanks a bunch for coming on. If viewers or listeners want to get a hold of you, if they have questions, how can they reach you?
Keeperconcealment.com, easiest way to reach me. You can write an email there and just address it to me. If you've got like specific questions, I'm a little slow to answer those, but they will get answered. And if for some reason, and there's some emails there, or not emails, there's some phone numbers there. that if they don't get answered, just kind of keep hammering that, and we will answer those pretty much specifically for me, and we'll get you taken care of.
Right on. Fantastic. So, Spencer, thanks so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it, man.
Hey, thank you, man, and sorry about all the technical trouble to begin this show. So,
It's all good. And also, for the folks that are listening and the folks that are watching, I just want to say thank you for spending your time with us.
yeah.
Um,
So
I,
one other thing I will I'd kind of like to get out there.
yeah,
I injured. I have a real job. I've got 36 years with the federal government, and injured my back pretty bad. Roughly a little over a year ago, and just now got approval to have that back uh, uh, operated on. And so hopefully you will see me get that done and start getting back out on the who's of the firearms training world, and start getting that done, because I'm super excited about that. Uh, and it'll keep me going. So just thought I'd let everybody kind of update on that, so there weren't like, well, hell, he's not producing any, he's not scheduling any classes and anything like that. Well, and the reason for that is I'm contractually bound, not to be doing anything stupid on that. And the last thing I want to do is end up in such a way that I'm a fugitive from justice, saying that, hey, I can teach, but I can't work, So
yeah,
we all, if you know what I'm talking about, we all know a trainer that kind of did that and got in a lot of hot water about it, and I don't want to be that guy. So,
yeah. All right. So,
so fair enough.
yeah. So,
All
but
right.
yeah, Spencer, thanks a bunch for coming out. And folks at home, thanks a bunch for watching. Really do appreciate you spending your time with us. Welcome to Memphis.
Yep. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it.